is particularly about organizing your research and using some tools and strategies to help you with that. So it's going to be very technical today, but we are going to talk about some of the reasoning behind how to use tools and strategies to organize your research. Just a few guidelines to get us started. Please mute yourself when you're not speaking, just because we are going to be recording this and we want to keep that background noise down. Feel free to use the chat for discussion and questions as we go. My co-host Shamini Dias is going to be working in the chat while I'm speaking, and then I plan to leave time at the end for questions. I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions. I'm happy to go back over anything. This webinar is being recorded, but your name is not going to be recorded on the video, so don't worry about that if that's a concern for you. And finally, captions are available in your Zoom window. If you click on the little button at the bottom that says CC Live Transcript, it will pull up a transcription of what I'm saying, so that if you need that, feel free to use that button. Okay, so let's get going with the essential questions. So why use a reference management tool? That's something we're going to cover today. We're also going to talk about how do I use one. I'm actually going to pull up one of my reference management tools, and I'm going to walk you through how to use it. And then finally, I'm going to show you where you can find more help with these kind of issues, so that you can follow up, because I'm sure I can't answer all of your questions in this brief session, but if you know where to look, you can continue to explore reference management tools and strategies. All right, so first I have some questions for you that I just want you to think about for a minute before we get started. So just think about these. You can write it down if you want, but how many articles and books do you think you will have read after 2 years of coursework? I know this seemed like a random question, but it's important. So how many, let's just say, how many articles do you think you will have written by the end of 2 years of coursework? So just to do a little math here, if you were assigned just 2 articles a week for 16 weeks, so this is for one class, right? 2 articles a week for 16 weeks, I guess multiply that by 3 classes a semester for 2 years, you're actually going to have 384 articles that you will have read for those 2 years. And that's just for articles, right? So think about how much you will have had assigned reading for that time. Okay, here's another question. How do you personally keep track of all of your notes about your articles and books and everything that you've read for your courses? What's your system? Do you have a system? Just think, like, are you using like index cards, folders on your computer? Are you printing them out? Like, what is your actual system that you're using, if you have one? So have you ever, this has happened to me before, have you ever bought a book only to realize that you already had a copy? Have you ever downloaded an article again and realized you've already downloaded that article and you think you have notes on it somewhere? So those kinds of questions make you think about how are you actually organizing your research. So how quickly could you find a note on a book you read 2 years ago for one of your courses? Just really think about that. 2 years ago, you had a course on something important and you thought, oh, that book would be perfect. How quickly could you find the notes on that book? Okay, what about a particular author in your field who's really important? How easily could you find all of their articles that you've already read and just look at your notes for that article, for instance? And then how hard would it be for you to find a quote from an author you really liked last semester and you want to cite it in your paper? How long would that take you? So with these reflection questions, I would like to suggest that if, for instance, it's taking you more than a minute to find a quote from an author you really like, or notes from a book that you read 2 years ago, your system could be improved. And I'm going to show you how we can work to make your system a little bit better. And if you don't have one, this is a great way to get started. So I'm going to now talk about why you should use a reference manager and how it's a great tool and strategy for actually organizing your research at any level in your PhD or master's journey. So even if you've already finished your coursework and you don't have a great system set up, it's always better to start now rather than later, because I'm going to show you all the ways it can help you, even if you're midway through writing your dissertation. So let's get started here. First, reference management software acts as an external memory where you can just store everything in one reliable place instead of keeping, those 384 articles in your head all the time, because I know I couldn't do it, and maybe someone else can, but there was no way I was going to remember all of that stuff from my coursework, and even stuff I had read over the past year. So it's just a great external memory place where you can keep everything. So you get to build a knowledge base that's quickly and easily accessed and backed up. You can also use this as a place to reinforce your memory. So every time you open a software, you get to see everything you've done, and it actually reinforces your memory of, oh yeah, I've read that person before, or I remember that book now. And that can actually really help you jumpstart your writing or your research, just by like seeing those names and titles again, instead of being buried in folders or in papers somewhere. It actually is a great repository for at the end of your program, after you finish your degree, you have everything that you've used in one place. So if you go on to be a faculty member, well, maybe you now need to turn your dissertation into a book. Or if you're going to go on and be a consultant, you might need to go back and like, okay, I've got to convince my employer about something. What was that great article on this? It's also a great data backup. So I am not the most graceful person, and I've actually killed 2 computers. And so having a data backup has saved me multiple times. One of the worst things, I've heard stories where people have lost, 2 years of research because they didn't back up their data. So this is a great way to do that. And they can use cloud storage, or on your hard drive as well. And building connections. So when you use something like reference management software, you're actually building connections in the software between your resources and sources and in your own mind. So it's actually a great way to start building those connections, because that's where some of your greatest work for your new ideas are going to come from, because you're having to build new ideas as a scholar. And if you can make connections that other people haven't made, that's going to be really great for your research, and reference management software can really help you with that. Another thing is improving your speed, like I talked about a little bit already. If you use reference management software, you're much less likely to forget where you read something. You're much more likely to not have to go reread something that you already read. Your notes are right there ready for you. So those are some of the reasons to kind of look at it as an external memory. It can also be looked at for connections, a little bit like I mentioned before. So you can look at, for instance, connections based on author. You can look at what an author has, like everything an author has written that you've read. You can look at, okay, what have I read on this particular topic, in the past 2 years, because I'm going to write another paper, or I'm going to submit to a conference, and I need to know everything I've thought about on this particular topic, right? You can also organize by years and create a timeline of like, what did I find last week? Or, what were the last 6 months? What did I really look at? So you can pull those things out of a reference manager. There's conversations. So a lot of times, I'm in religious studies. So a lot of times we'll have someone will write a paper, and then, 4 other people will write papers responding to that paper. So it's really easy to stay on top of those kinds of conversations, to see what everyone is talking about, and make sure that you get everything connected in your own mind and in your software. And of course, searching will help you with speed and will help you with those connections. So just searching for a particular topic, you might realize, oh, I didn't realize that this book also had information on this topic, right? And reports. You can also pull reports of and have them printed out as a PDF, for instance, if you want to read that way, or just go over stuff you haven't seen in a while. It's also, reference management software is also great for note taking. So you can attach book reviews to a book. So you can see like, oh, this is what these 3 people thought about this book. You can attach quotations so that you've got that perfect quotation always there, and you're not going to have to dig around in the book or in the article to find it. You can also attach videos and like download videos and save them because YouTube, sometimes they take stuff down. You might have something that's really important on YouTube or some other video, a documentary, and it's just gone. Same thing with like blogs. So I've done some research on blogs and stuff, and you need to save all that stuff on your own computer because the internet is not a great place to use as an archive. You should use your own system to archive those things because you never know when someone's going to take something down or delete something. And you can also highlight your own PDFs if you prefer to take notes that way. A couple more things about speed. So it helps you do your research faster. It's going to help your writing speed up as you're not searching around for citations and things as much. It's going to help you actually cite in your paper. Your citing is going to go so much faster in your papers because you're not going to have to spend so much time correcting them and searching for that particular citation or remembering how to write it. It's also going to be able to auto create a bibliography for you, either so you can just send it on its own, or it will automatically make it for everything you've cited in a particular paper. It's great for reading lists. I used this extensively when I was starting my reading lists for quals, and I can't tell you how much time it saved me to add the 4 books or whatever my professor wanted me to add. Then I could just very quickly send off the bibliography again, already pre-formatted. It took me like 2 minutes and it was good to go, alphabetized and everything. It was great. In groups, you can also set up groups so you can work on projects together. So if you're working on an edited volume, or if you just have a study group, you can share notes together and share the bibliography list together. It's really great. I've used that as well. So that was my spiel about why you should use reference management software. But we're going to actually use most of the time to go over a particular one, and so I can show you how powerful it can be and how you can use it in your own research. So this is a grouping of all of the reference management software out there that's at least the most popular kinds. There's more than this. But my particular favorite is Zotero, and I'll tell you why in just a second, but any one of these can work. Some of them do cost money or sometimes particular schools will give you access to it for free. I don't think CEGU does give you any access to one for free anymore, but take some time and figure out which one will work best for you. I'll tell you why I like Zotero the best, but it is possible to switch between these systems if you ever decide you want to. But if you spend 20 minutes just figuring out which one would be best for you, it'll save you time later so you don't have to switch. All right. So here's why I like Zotero, and this is why I use it. First is it's free and open software. Some of the other software systems, for instance, like Mendeley, are owned by Elsevier. I think that's how you say it. There's some controversy over that company. Many scholars, including California's UC system, at least was, I'm not sure if they still are, boycotting them over, some profit margin and copyright practices. So I think free and open source software is great because you're not going to have to deal with some ethical issues like that. This works with Word, Google Docs, LibreOffice, and it also has plugins for LaTeX and things like that if you want to use some other styles. Zotero is not tied to any one PDF reader. So for instance, Mendeley has a built-in PDF reader inside of it, but I like to use my own particular one. And if I ever change, I can do that very easily compared to Mendeley, where you're kind of tied in there. Also, Zotero has cloud and/or local storage, so you can save everything on your computer and then back it up on a hard drive. And you can also use cloud storage. They have free cloud storage up to a certain point, and then you have to pay per year if you want the additional cloud storage. You can keep using it even if you max out your storage, it just won't save it on the cloud. I think I pay $20 a year for like 2 gigabytes, and I haven't used that up yet, and I've used this for years. And $20 a year, I'm happy to pay that, especially because I think it's a great program and I'm happy to fund them, but you don't have to. Let's see. Yes, you don't have to switch later. Zotero, I feel like it's a very stable and very popular program. It has a really great user base. So you might, I think they're less likely, to go out of business or go down, especially because they're open source. So you won't have to switch later. But if you do, they certainly have the process there for you to move from another system. So if you do have to move, you can do that. So that's my argument for Zotero. Now I'm going to show you how to use Zotero, but even if you end up going with a different system, the strategies for how to use it are pretty much the same. So don't feel like this, you would be necessarily tied to Zotero if you see this, but it's the strategies we want to use when using reference management software. So I'm going to show you how to do it, how I think about my Zotero. I'm going to show you how to use folders, tags, the search function, how to sort your resources and sources, how to use the related function, how to add notes and the importance of notes, plugins, citations, and bibliography. So I'll show you how it works with Word and how it works with the library system and get that all integrated. So let me actually pull up my Zotero and I will kind of start walking through these 10 things of how to use Zotero. Let's see. While I'm getting this set up, did anyone have any questions I haven't seen yet? I can't see chat because I'm using too many windows as it is.
No questions yet.
Okay, great.
But everyone, feel free as you see this now, post your questions. I'll be watching chat so we can stop or take them at the end.
Awesome. All right, so this is my Zotero. This is my actual Zotero that I use. And you can this is what it looks like when you open the application. So we're going to start on the left and just kind of move to the right here. So this right here is your folders when you open Zotero, and this is your whole library. So when you click on My Library, this is everything you have in your Zotero. And then I've broken mine down into folders. So for instance, these are the folders that I used for my qualifying exams. I think folders, the best way to use them are actually by project instead of by topic, because you're going to have multiple topics. But I like making a project folder because you keep everything here in your library, so you can always pull from it again and again to build a new project. But this just makes it easy to keep it all in one place. So this is your list of folders. Then you also have your group libraries here if you're a part of any group libraries. So you can jump over to those as well. There's also a trash folder in case you accidentally throw something away. You can always go grab it later. Okay. On this side, you can see all of the tags I have for this folder. So your tags work by folder level. So if I click here, you see all the tags I have in my whole library. And if I click here, you can see the tags that I have in this particular library. That's why I think the folders are the best way to organize by project. And then tags you can use more for, like maybe the status of what you're reading or the topic of what you're reading. Then you see here, this is where all the main information is. You have the title, creator, and year. That's how I like to see it. You also have the option to pick other columns. Those are the columns I particularly like, but you can select whatever is most important to you. You can see if you have attachments, you can just add as many columns as you'd like if you want to do that. And then over here on the right-hand side, you have the basic information about whatever you're actually selecting. So you can see this is a journal article. Here's the title, author, publication, all this important information. You can even see the date I added it and the date I modified it. So also, then you can have notes. You can add notes here. This is where you add tags individually. So you can just click there, add a tag, and click there to take it off. and then related. So let's pick one that has some related functions. So this was one of the major articles that I was looking at in my qualifying exam. And you can see here when I click on related, there were several articles and 2 dissertations that were actually talking about this article. And so I can easily click on one of these and jump over and be like, oh, okay, here's an article that was related. And then see it relates back to the one I was at previously. So that way you can see how things are connected. Okay, just to keep going over the basic layout, this is the button that lets you add folders. You just click there, enter a new collection. They call it a collection, I guess, rather than a folder. This lets you add a new source, and you can pick what type you'd like to do. Here is to add a new note, and I'll go over that in a bit more, or an attachment. Here's the search function. And then this little green button lets you make sure it's synced to the cloud. Okay. So that's kind of the basic layout of the Zotero screen. So let's see. Let me go over tags a little bit more. Oh, actually, before I do that, let me go over the folders. So you can actually drag and drop folders as you'd like. You can see that I had 3 qualifying exams, and so I had a quals. There's nothing in here, but because I really thought about it as 3 separate projects, you can see my 3 exams right here. These are additions that I added on to and were required by my book lists. But so I wanted to keep them kind of separate. For tags, you can have up to 3 colored tags, and you can see how I've used the colors here. I use this one to note, like, I have extensive notes on this book, and so I would tag it with notes so I can make sure and go back and look at that. I have one called Read Next, and this one was like, okay, I really need to read. This is the next thing I want to do next time I open up Zotero, right? That's the next thing I'm going to work on. And then one I used to have was read. So that meant I have read the article, but I didn't have extensive notes on it. But I don't use that one anymore. And then you can just see, if you click here, we can see, you know, everything I have on this particular verse in the Quran. That was one of the questions on this exam. So you can narrow it down even within the folder to a smaller subset. And then I could say, okay, what talked about this verse and talked about Eve. And so I could very easily narrow things down. And you can have as many tags as you want. I don't use tags that extensively, but that's how that would work. And when you use the colored tags, you can see here that it'll actually mark the book with a little green dot or a purple dot. I think you can, yeah, if you right click, you can assign a color or rename it or delete a tag. So that's how the tagging system works. So again, I would suggest that folders are used for a project. For your tags, I would use it for 2 reasons. I would say, what is the status of that source? Is it something you've read? Do you have notes on it, or do you need to read it next? And then I would add it by topic. So you have a little bit more ability to dig down in those topics. Okay, next, let's talk about search. One of the best functions to help you go quickly is the search function. So if you are kind of starting something fresh and want to see what you have, it's very easy to see, okay, here's all the articles I have that talk about Eve in some way, right? And that's in my whole library. But if I want to look just at this particular project, I can find everything that covers Eve right there. And if you hit this little down arrow, you can do search by title, creator, and year, or you can do all fields and tags, or you can search everything. So this will even search within your notes. So for instance, if you're looking for a particular quote, you can select this, and then it'll show you, see how my notes have now popped up? It'll say that word was actually used in your notes in this particular place. So it's a very useful and powerful way to search. What's next? Sorting. So this is really useful as well if you want to see, for instance, all of your books by, see, these you can drag to, year. So I went back to 1980 for this exam, but you can see most of my sources are pretty new. And then you can search by creator. So you can see, for instance, that this was one of the major authors I was working with. So you can see all of her articles just really nicely laid out there. And it's great for when you're trying to find something. Or you can do it by title if that's the way you prefer. And again, you can add additional site search or sorting criteria if that's something you're looking for. What did else? I think I already showed you how to use the related function. Okay, let's actually talk about adding things. So let's add a source. So if we wanted to add a source, we go over to this little blue button, and this is adding it manually. I'll show you how to do it using the library here in just a second. So let's add a journal article. So it'll start and just give us a blank option here. And so we can type in a title, the author, publication, everything, and then you can see, you click away and it automatically saves. So everything is just automatically saved. Then it's actually shown that we added it this day and modified it this day. So that's also a great way to do that. Then we could go add a tag if we wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and delete it because I don't want it in here. But that's how you would add a source manually. And you can, there's all kinds of different, you could cite an email, a map, manuscript, thesis, video recording. So anything you can think of, you can add here as a type of source. Now I'm going to show you how to add, I'm going to show you in a second how to add it from the library because I have to get out of Zotero necessarily and take you to the website. So I'm going to show you how to add a few more things. Adding a note is super easy. You can add a standalone note that's not connected to any other source, or you can add a child note. So for instance, if I wanted to add a child note to this, I would just add a child note, and then I can start typing right here, just right into it, whatever I think. And it will actually save it as connected to this. So it's a great way to take notes on a book and just, it's already connected and ready to go. Right? You can see here, I have a note from an email for the professor I was working with about what they said in an email. And because I just wanted that all in the same place, right? So because it was related to my sources that I was going to be working with. And so that's a great way to use a standalone note as well. Now then, you don't just have to use the Zotero type of notes. You can add anything to a, so this is a book, right? You can see I have notes here, and then I actually attached reviews of the book here. But you can add all kinds of stuff. So you can attach a stored copy of a file, and this can be a PDF, an image, a Word document. It can be a URL, a stored video file, anything. And it will keep it in its directory, in its system. So all you have to do is come back and double click, and this will open up the PDF with everything I've done, all of my highlights saved right there. Or this will open up the document I actually have with all of the notes because I wrote a lot, right? So those are the two major ways to add attachments and notes. But let me show you how to use the actual, how to like use the library here with Zotero. So just let me add this other screen real quick here. Okay, I'm just going to show you my whole desktop. I think that'll be easiest. So can you see my desktop? Yeah, okay, good. So let's see. So this is, if I went to the library and searched for the, I don't know, Oxford Handbook of Religion, I have a plugin already installed. So you do have to install the plugin, but the Zotero website, it shows you how to download the Zotero application and how to use the particular plugin you want. So this is Google Chrome that I'm using. And you can see here, say we want this one, the Handbook of Philosophy of Religion. This right here is the little plugin for Zotero. You can see it says save to Zotero. So the first thing I need to do is make sure that Zotero is open because the application has to be open to save it. But I make sure the application it can be run in the background, right? And I hit this little button and you can see, because this is a list here, it's going to pull up, well, which one are you wanting to look? I can add 3 of them at the same time if I want, or I can just click on this first one I select OK, and then it shows me that it's saving. And if I want extra options, I can go down here and click and say, well, wait, where are you adding it to? And it's adding it to the folder we were just in, but I can change it and add tags here, but I don't want to do that. So I'll just hit done. And let me slide my Zotero over here. So you can see now it's highlighted, it's right in there. And you always, so when you use the automatic version, you always want to go in and double check, right? You don't want to trust the system that got it all. Now, I would say 80% of the time it gets it right, but I always double check. So for instance, it's got this semicolon here. I don't want that. Number of pages. I would just clean this up just a little bit. And I would, capitalize that correctly. But it's great. This is captured the URL when I accessed it, where I got it from, all of those great things. And once I've decided it's good, I just click away and everything is saved. Again, I'm going to throw this away just because I don't actually need it. So that's how it actually interacts with the library. Now you can use Google Scholar. You can use this with JSTOR. So it really works. I think it's worked with everything I've tried to use it for before. I'm trying to think. It's kind of iffy if you just have a PDF pulled up here with no information on it. It will save the PDF. That's something the Zotero tries to do. If there's a PDF attached, it will try to automatically download the PDF, but it's not always successful. But it's very easy to just download the PDF and attach it yourself, saying attach, a stored copy of the file. So that's how to add it from, the library. Now, the other thing I wanted to really show you was how to use the citation system. And I think this is one of the, besides just organizing your research, this is one of the things that can make writing so much faster. So say I'm writing this paper right here, and I need to add a citation. So I put the cursor after the sentence where I need to add the citation. And there's a plugin for Word. And again, it's on the website where you can go and see where those plugins are. You click Zotero, and then you have really two options here. You can just click here to add the citation. There's also a quick combo of buttons you can use to do it. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But anyway, this little box pops up. And so let's look up who I'm actually talking about here. And you can see that it's going to pull it up. So you can search by the person's last name, first name, title of the book that you're using or article. And then you can just hit enter or select it with your mouse. And then say, I want to note which page it's on. I put P and then 23. So, and then just hit enter. And then you can see it's got the little footnote. So you can select, when you first start a document and hit Zotero, you can select what kind of citation style. Now this is really important because I use Chicago for my research, but for my work, I use APA style. So I can on the fly change what kind of citation style I'm using. I think there's over 40 different citation styles that Zotero automatically has. But you can see it has the footnote, and we scroll down and it's ready to go right there. Now, one of the great things about this, especially as you start writing longer and longer documents, is if I decide, wait, I'm going to write this paragraph in here and I need another citation, it's very easy to add another citation, and it automatically updates all of the numbers that you've been using in your footnotes so far. So for instance, let's just add something else. Say I was citing this, page 45, add it, and now it's this used to be number 1, but now since I went back and put something before it, it actually corrected it. So they're now in the correct order at the end of the page. And then the other thing I really like is the add edit bibliography. So once you're done writing your paper, hit this button and it will automatically scan your document, figure out every footnote or citation that you've made, and it'll automatically create this for you. It'll be alphabetical, and it'll be whatever citation style you actually picked. So this is what you normally see when you hit Zotero the first time for a document, but I was setting this up, so I already hit it. You can see that it has actually 3 different styles of Chicago style. I like note. You can switch to endnotes. You can pick what APA. And then here, I think you can actually go and add citation styles if they don't have what you're looking for. So, and then your book or your chapter or whatever you're working on is ready to go. The other way to do this is if you are wanting to set up a book list, for instance, it's very easy if you want to share a bibliography. You can select all of these, hit the right mouse button, and say create bibliography from items. And then it'll copy it to your clipboard, or you can have it saved as HTML or just print it straight out. Hit OK. We can come over here and it will just paste in whatever you would like. And it should be all styled correctly. That was a lot that I had there. Okay, so anyway, was there anything else I wanted to show you for the plugins? I think that's the main thing. Oh, this is the advanced search as well. So you can search by title, item type, things like that. So it can dig very deeply in your search function depending on how much you need to use. This is another function that, let me share again here real quick so I'm actually looking at you the right way. So something that you can use this for besides just your coursework is I actually have a syllabi folder, and any syllabi that I have taken or one that have asked someone for that I wanted to save because I thought, hey, I might teach that class. I have them all listed here. And for instance, I can see like this was, you know, what the title of the course was, who did this, what college they were with, and the date. So if you want to ever save something like that, and it depends on what kind of research you're doing and everything, but that can be a different way to actually use Zotero. So I wanted to leave plenty of time for questions, but real quick, I just wanted to share a couple more things with you. Sorry for all the switching. Let me see. Just on the PowerPoint, I wanted to show you just very quickly where you can go for more help. So let's see. So if you want some more help, Claremont Colleges, one of the reasons to use Zotero is they actually have help for Zotero. That's the only reference manager that they support right now. So if they have a video on how to use some of the functions, and you can also meet with a librarian and they will walk you through how to use Zotero. And then I've also gotten some or have some links that you can use that will just some resources, and I'll put those in the chat real quick for you to find some extra help. There's also, I also wanted to mention just a few more things. We have a couple more sessions coming up for reorientation, so feel free to go to those on Friday and Saturday. And then let's see, I think that's it for now, and I'll do a poll in a minute to see if this was actually helpful. So we have about 20 minutes left. What questions do you have? How can I, is there anything else I can show you? Any other strategies you all would like to talk about?
Shelby, there are 2 questions in chat that I'll read out. One is, how do you save PDFs and docs into Zotero? Put a PDF in there. And then, do you want to take them one at a time?
Yeah, maybe let's do them one at a time.
Okay, let's do that one first.
Okay, so here's the Zotero again. So how you actually put them in here, there's a couple ways. What I prefer to do is, for instance, click on the source. So you've already added the information, and then go to just the little attach button and attach stored copy of file. So you should download the PDF to your computer, and then you just attach stored copy of file. And here I'll pull up, here's here's a report I've written, and I can just attach it, and then you see it there, and it'll automatically name it with the author's last name, date, and then title. So I think that's the easiest way to attach something. You can also drag and drop things. So I'm going to, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to drag a file in here, and you can drop it on top, and it will attach it as well. So those are the two quickest ways to attach things to a particular source. But you don't have to attach it to a source if you want. For instance, if you just want to add it, you can, just come in here and plop it in. So I hope that answers the question. But if you're pulling from the library and there's or JSTOR or anything, and there's a particular PDF that's already there, it will try and attach it automatically. But that's generally the fastest ways, is to drag and drop or just hit the little attach button. And again, you can attach anything. It doesn't have to be a PDF. It could be images. For instance, if you're working in archive looking at art, you can attach art pictures and stuff like that. So it's really highly functional. Was there another question?
Yeah. This is an iOS question. I've been using Zotero, but wondering if there's a way to access documents on my iPad except the web version. So just on the iPad itself. I like to read on an iPad, but I have to click through multiple links to locate actual PDF files to find my documents, since Zotero doesn't have a mobile app. Just wondering if we have any tips and tricks.
Unfortunately, I don't. Maybe the librarians do, just because I don't have an iPad, so I've never used it like that. It sounds nice to have an iPad, but because I know it would be great to highlight.
I have an iPad and I access Zotero, and what I know is you have to be connected to the cloud version, because iOS, it's on the cloud. So if you have your Zotero open on the cloud and you have PDFs there, you could open those up, right?
Yeah,
But it's not very reliable yet. And I would say, yeah, go talk to the librarians, because they teach Zotero in very granular detail, and they may have the latest iOS version updates or information or tips.
Absolutely. And that reminds me of, I didn't actually bring it up. This is the online web version. So I can actually go to, actually, where's my actual Zotero? Here, I have it logged in. There we go. So you can log in on a website, and it will, can you still see it? Okay. So you can still see everything you have on the web, and you can do searches.
We might
like
be
this.
Losing bits of you, Shelby. You're going in and out. It could be just me.
Oh no. Okay. Do you have? Am I back?
Yes.
Oh, no. Okay. All right. So that was just, you can use it on a website. So if you're ever on another computer and you want to access all your stuff, you can find it there. Any other questions?
Nothing more in chat. Let me check one more time. But if anyone has a thought or a question, please feel free to ask us around Zotero, or just, organizing your research and issues or ideas that you have.
Yeah, I think some of the things that I've heard people say, well, I'm not really sure if I want to use a reference management tool, is they think, oh, it's going to take a long time to add everything in. And I do want to admit, it takes a couple of, not a couple of tries, but it takes adding things for a few times for it to get faster, but you really do get very quick at it. And now I'm actually faster at adding the citations in to Zotero than it would take me to like type them all out and then try to save it that way. So it takes you a little bit of time to get used to it, but it really does save you time in the long run, especially when you're writing those long documents like your dissertation or dissertation chapters.
I found it particularly useful like when I'm doing a literature search, and I use that little plugin because I'm on a Google Scholar on a database, and I want to pull in the citations, but I get all the metadata and sometimes the PDFs. So it comes in. I do take a little time to go through and tag them so that it's easier for me to use. But I can't describe once I started doing that, how much time it has saved me. Then finding individual articles and putting them into a folder on my computer. And then, like Shelby said earlier, not quite knowing where it is or that even that I have something. So I really depend on the external memory.
Yeah,
It's
and I
worth
really like the
spending the time.
connections.
Mm,
And I really like the connections I start to make by reading things, and seeing it all right there. I feel like I make better connections between what authors are saying, which helps push my research topic further. Yeah.
And the other thing I would really push, it takes a little getting used to, is the Write and Cite plugin. Because when you're writing a long paper and you're just using that, you can be pretty sure your bibliography will be completely in correspondence to the citations in the paper. And if you have lots of references, it literally saves you days of organizing your bibliography.
Yeah, it really does save you days. I've talked to people who said they spent like 2 weeks organizing all of their citations because they didn't do it the first time. They just dropped everything in as they were writing, not using Zotero, just, putting in the author and title and stuff. And it took them 2 weeks to go in and clean up all of their citations and bibliography and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine the dissertation bibliography.
Yeah.
My story on that is the first draft of my dissertation. I hit the generate bibliography and put my head down because I'd done a kind of like 2 all-nighters in a row. And it just spat out these 20-page bibliography reference list. That was already formatted because one of the things Shelby showed that's really important is as you put your citations in, you do a little cleanup so you make sure the formatting's good. Pays off in a big way.
Has anyone here actually used a reference manager, Zotero or otherwise?
Mendeley.
I use Zotero. I've been using it for a long time. It's great. I love it.
Right. I see some people, Ariel use Mendeley. Yeah, Mendeley is another, tends to be very popular with social science people.
A sad face. I see the sad face. If you ever want to switch to Zotero, it's totally possible to export everything out and move it to Zotero. It takes a little bit of work, but you can totally do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question on whether the video will be available later today. Maybe not today, but it will be posted on the Academic Professional Development website right under the schedule for the event. We'll have a link to the video and the PDF of the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Although for this one, I think it's the video because Shelby switched to showing us a live demo.
Yeah. I don't know how useful the actual PowerPoint will be, but I will put that up as well. But yeah, we'll put that up. It might take a day or two to process the video, but it will be up.
Oh, Casey, yay, download Zotero right after this. I can tell you how it's just, when I first did it, I had a little bit of back work to do because I'd been working with stuff for years. It's function of being old, right? I had to put everything I had into Zotero, but once I had done that, I just love it. It's been very helpful, really helps.
I've used it also with, I didn't speak about this much before, but I was working on another paper with someone and we created a group library and, shared sources and notes. It was really easy to go in, open up Zotero and just work from there.
Yeah.
And, you can even just upload the draft document in that folder so you can both like click on it and work through it. It was really, really helpful for us to be on the same page with that.
Which reminds me, with a class I used to teach for the Writing Center years ago, at the time we used Mendeley, but it's the same thing. We did exactly what Shelby is describing. The class had a group Zotero, a Mendeley space, and they could annotate the articles. We did a joint lit review. So it's really good for lit review because you can keep your notes, basically get your annotated bibliography going.
All right, well,
All right.
we'll stay here for a little bit longer if you have any more questions, but I think that's the official end of the presentation. So thank you for everyone for coming. I hope it was helpful to get you kind of started, or maybe some advanced features in reference management tools. So thank you all for coming. And again, we'll stay here if you have any further questions, but this will be the official end.